everyone, Assalamualaikum. Welcome back to another brand new video of the IELTS preparation guideline. This is Faizanul Haque from Lekhapora Online, your mentor for today's video. And today I'm gonna talk about some possible question types of the IELTS speaking test part 3 and how to answer them. Okay, before I start, let me remind you that we are doing a complete IELTS preparation guidelines series on our YouTube channel. So if you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe and press the bell icon also. And if you have missed our previous videos, you can find the playlist below in the description box. So now let's get started with some possible question types of the IELTS speaking test part 3. Okay, so firstly let's have a look at the type of questions I'm gonna discuss in today's video. So the first type is the explaining an issue. That means you need to explain an issue. And the second type is the describing an issue. The third type is the comparing and contrasting an issue. And the last one is going to be the expressing opinions. So basically, these four types are the very common types that you are going to be asked in your IELTS speaking test part 3. There might be some other possible types, but these four types are the most common that you might be asked in your IELTS speaking test by your examiner. But before that, let's review what actually happens in the IELTS speaking test part 3. Well, the examiner will ask you a broader range of questions based on the topic you had in your IELTS speaking test part 2. And these are some open-ended questions on a topic. For example, suppose this was your topic in the part 2. It is a cue card, so it says describe a museum that you have last visited. You should say where it is located, what specific things you can see there, when and why you last visited it, and lastly, and discuss how it compares to the other museums you have visited. So suppose this was your cue card in the part 2 of your IELTS speaking test, but if you're not sure what actually a cue card is, then you can watch our video on this topic. I had already made some videos on cue card. Okay, so if this was your topic in part 2, then the topic in part 3 will almost certainly be about museums. Here, the examiner will give you an opportunity to discuss in depth some of the issues related to this topic, related to museum. So this is kind of like a conversation on abstract topics. So we should get acquainted with the types of the questions you'll be asked in the part 3 of your IELTS speaking test. Because we need to understand the abstract questions. And usually the questions are not written there to the examiner, unlike part 1. The examiner will ask you questions based on your answers and based on your responses. So this is kind of like a conversation, and you should get acquainted with the types of the questions of the part 3, because you should be prepared what's coming for you in the speaking test of your IELTS exam. Therefore, we need to understand the types of the questions in the part 3 so that you can be prepared what's coming in your IELTS speaking test. Okay, so the first possible question type is the explaining an issue. Here, you may be asked to explain more about your ideas on a topic. So here you need to explain a little bit more on an issue of your topic. So if you look at some of the related questions here, it says, what role do museums play in a society? Why do people visit museums? And these related questions are actually based on this cue card topic, museum. So the questions could be, what role do museums play in a society? Why do people visit museum? So these two questions are actually asking you for your explanation with your ideas. So here you can organize your ideas in terms of a general idea and then with some supporting details, maybe 2 to 3 supporting details. Okay, so now let's look how you can answer this. But before, let's look at some of the useful words here. These words you can use to actually answer these questions, to actually explain more about an issue. So you can use, for example, for instance, in other words, such as, to illustrate, that is, and so etc. Okay, now let's look at one example response. Then I could explain you how you can actually explaining an issue. So here you can see museums have several different roles in a society. So this is the response of this first question. What role do museums play in a society? So the response could be here. Museums have several different roles in a society. They educate us about a wide range of things such as art, science, and history. They also provide us with entertainment, as going to a museum is a pleasant and exciting way to spend a day. Most of all, they are a representation of our culture. In other words, they reflect back to us the things that are considered to be valued or important in our culture. So this is just an example response. I know this is a little bit hard and a little bit tough to answer instantly when you are asked the questions, but I use this to actually make you understand an issue and explaining the question. So again, if you look at the question is what do the museums play in a society? What role do the museums play in a society? So, okay, so here let me show you how you can actually organize your ideas with one general idea and with providing 2 to 3 supporting details. Let me show you. Okay. So firstly, I said that museums have several different roles in society. So different roles, this is the general idea. Then I say they educate us about a wide range of things. So educate, this is the first supporting detail. So I say different roles, this is the main point. Then educate us about a wide range of things such as art, science, and history. This is the first supporting detail. Then I say they also provide us with entertainment. So entertainment is the second supporting detail. Then as going to a museum is a pleasant and exciting way to spend a day. Most of all, they are a representation of the culture. So representation of our culture is the third supporting detail. Then I lastly say, in other words, they reflect back to us the things that are considered to be valuable or important in our culture. So you can actually explain in this way. Firstly, you provide one general idea, you generate one general idea or one main point. Then you can actually give 2 to 3 supporting details to explain a little bit more about this main idea. So that's how you should explain an issue, and if you are asked to explain a little bit more, then you can provide maybe more supporting details here. The second possible question type is describing an issue. You may be asked to describe more details about your topic in the IELTS Speaking Test Part 3. So here you might be thinking that explaining and describing are the same thing, so how can we actually distinguish them? Very simply, remember, explaining means to get something clear or easy to understand by providing some informations, and on the other hand, describing is to say or write what something or someone's actually looks like. Maybe a shape or a picture you're describing by your own words, how actually it looks like, and so on. So describing is something you are saying from your personal feelings, and explaining is like giving informations that could be personal or impersonal. Okay, so let's look at some of the related questions so it will get more clear. The questions are again on the same topic, museum. So firstly, it asks, what does a museum near you look like? And the secondly, what are some different ways museums present information? So see here, the first question is asking you to provide, asking you to describe how it looks like, I mean the outlook of the museum, and the secondly, it asks you for some what you know, what you see, and what you can actually describe about the present information of a museum. Here again, you can think of a response with a general idea and with some supporting details. So here is an example again, example response. So you could say museums present information through exhibits, films, and different hands-on activities. Museum exhibit things in different ways. Art might hang on the wall, or a scene from history may be shown in a diorama. In addition, museums usually show films that are specially made to accompany the exhibits. Many museums also have hands-on activities. For example, they have an exhibits that can be touched. They also often offer workshops where participants can learn to make things that are similar or related to the items in the museum's exhibits. This is just an example response, just to make you understand how you can provide some main idea and provide some supporting details. So let me show you how you can actually describe this type of questions. Here, in the first line, you can see museums present information through exhibits, films, and different hands-on activities. So this is the general idea. Exhibit films and different hands-on activities. This is the main point. Then it says museum exhibit things in different ways. Art might hang on the wall, or a scene from history may be shown in a diorama. So here, exhibit things is the first supporting detail. Then I used one sentence connector here. In addition, using this connector, it says museums usually show films that are specially made to accompany the exhibits. So this is the second supporting detail. Then it says many museums also have hands-on activities. For example, they have exhibits that can be touched. So exhibits that can be touched is another supporting detail. And lastly, it says they also often offer workshops where participants can learn to make things that are similar or related to the items in the museums. So workshops is the last supporting detail. So this is how you should describe something. Firstly, you say one main point and the one general idea. Then provide some supporting details, and actually to make the answer a little bit clear, because you're describing here. You are not just answering. And as this is the discussion part, you need to lengthen your answers. You just don't give one short answer. Give answers like this. Provide firstly main point and one general idea, then some 2 to 3, 4 supporting details to actually describe the thing, so that the examiner might not have any addition questions or any other questions, because you have answered all the description in just one answer. So that's how you should describe an issue. And again, some useful words here you can use to describe an issue, like generally, additionally, usually, another, first, second, third, and then in addition. Like in the last example response, I used in addition. So you can use these useful words to actually connect the sentences, or actually describe something with precise details. Now let's move on to the next possible question type. Comparing and contrasting an issue. You may be asked to compare or contrast some issues related to your topics. That means you actually need to explain some similarities and explain some differences on some issues based on the topic. So some related questions, let's see. How are some small town museums different from museums in big cities? How will museums be different in the same future? So again, on the same topic, museum. In the very first question, it asks the differences between small town museums and the big city museums. Then in the second question, it actually asks the differences between the past and the future. So here again, an example response for you. In future, I think that museums will be both similar to and different from museums now. I think they have similarities content. There will still be art museums that show paintings and sculpture, and natural history museums that show dinosaurs, for example. And I think some of the exhibits will be set up in similar ways too, but I also think that museums in the future will make more use of the technology. Computers will be used to make the exhibits more interactive. Most museums will probably also have exhibits online. then it won't be necessary to actually visit the museums, at least in some cases. So here again, you can actually organize your ideas by thinking some of the similarities and some of the differences. So how you can actually think of that when the examiner asks you for compare or to contrast between some issues. So let's see here. In the first line, it says, in the future, I think that museums will be both similar to and differences from the museums now. So this is the first trick. When the examiner asking you to compare or to contrast some issues, then you can actually play a positive side, and actually you can play a neutral side. That in the first line you can say that there are both similarities and differences. So in the first line, I think in the future, I think the museums will be both similar to and different from the museums now. Then I provide some similarities. I think they have some similar content. This is the first similarity. Then I said there will still be art museums that shows paintings and sculpture, and natural history museums that shows dinosaurs, for example. So this is the second similarity, art museums. Then I said, and I think some of the exhibits will be set up in similar ways too. But I also think that museums in the future will make more use of the technology. So more use of the technology is my first differences. Then computers will be used to make the exhibits more interactive. Most museums will probably also have exhibits online. So this is the another differences. Then it won't be necessary to actually visit the museums, at least in some cases. So that's how you should answer some of this type of question. If the examiner asks you to compare, you can play the safe side and then provide some similarities and also some differences here. Again, here are some also useful words for you, similar to and different from. So these sides are to use for the similarities, and these sides are to use for the differences. So similar to, both, the same as, dot dot dot, as, like, you can use to explain similarities, and different from, although, however, less or more. On the other hand, these phrases or words you can use actually to provide some differences. Now let's move on to our last possible question type, and that is expressing opinions. This is the most common question type of the IELTS Speaking Test Part 3. You may be asked to give your opinion on issues related to your topic. So as this is the discussion part, the examiner is asking for your opinion, what you think about the topic, what you actually think about an issue. So look at some of the related questions here. Firstly, it asks what type of museum do you prefer to visit, why, asking you to give your opinion. Then, do you agree or disagree? Schools should always include museum visits as part of their program. So to express your opinions, you can use these phrases or words. I believe that, to my mind, I would prefer to. From my point of view, I agree that. In my opinion, if I had to choose, I tend to look. So using these phrases or words are the most useful thing for you, and the most important thing for you, because if you use these phrases, the examiner can actually understand your English speaking ability. So that you should use these phrases, then the examiner can actually focus on your opinion. Let's look at the one example response. I agree that museums should not charge high fees. In my opinion, museums should not charge any fees at all. Many people, especially families with children, cannot afford to pay to go to a museum, so admission fees just keep people away. In any case, admission fees provide only a very smaller part of the funds of a museum needs, so no one really benefits from them. To my way of thinking, museums benefit the public, so the government should provide most or all of the funds for the museums. So here, you're actually providing your opinion. Here again, in this type of questions, you can organize your ideas and maybe 1 to 2 opinions, and then provide some supporting details here. Here in this type of questions, you can organize by thinking about your opinion and some related details. So firstly, you say that I agree. So let me show you how you can actually organize your ideas. Firstly, you state your opinion here. Let me show you. I agree that. So in the very first sentence, you're expressing and you're stating your opinion. Then some supporting details. In my opinion, museums should not charge any fees at all. Many people, especially families with children, cannot afford to pay to go to a museum. So admission fees just keep people away. So this is the first supporting detail, as admission fees just keep people away. Then in any case, admission fees provide only a very small part of the funds of a museum needs. So no one really benefits from them. So this is the second supporting detail. Admission fees provide only a very small part. Then lastly, you can state the opinion that to my way of thinking, this is the connector. This is the connecting phrase I used here. You can say museums benefit the public, so the government should provide most of the funds for the museums. The government. This is your main part of your opinion and the last supporting detail. So that's how you can actually organize your ideas. Think about are you agreeing or disagreeing? Then you can actually provide some of your opinions and state some details there. That's how you can actually express your opinion. Okay, so that's all for today's video. I hope you'll understand the question types of the IELTS Speaking Test Part 3. Okay, so that's all for today's video. I hope you will understand the possible question types of the IELTS Speaking Test Part 3. I hope this video benefits you, and actually you can understand what's coming for your IELTS Speaking Test Part 3 discussion part. I'll make another video on strategies and tips to do well in the IELTS Speaking Test Part 3. So for that you need to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. And if you have any questions related to the possible question type, you can let us know in the comment section, or you can connect us via our social media. You can find the links below in our description box. So until the next time, take care. Happy learning.